G'day, I'm Ariane Light, creator of the Creative Mastery Program, and this is the third video in a series really looking at the system and how I work in a holistic way to get the most from our creative potential. It's a unification of the feminine aspects of our being, that is breath, movement and feeling, with the masculine aspects of our being of thought, word and action. And these six form a whole-bodied approach to having the source, which we call God, spirit, essence, passion, whatever you want to call it, be our experience, which is what the outer circle is. So learning to let source flow into our experience is the core of what this creative mastery work is about. And so the first video we covered an overall look at this blueprint, this system, and in the second video we looked at the yin triangle, which is the feminine aspect of creation and that inner being of our world. It's what a lot of the more Eastern traditions work with breath, with movement, with feeling, to deeply cultivate whatever it is I'm wanting to on the inner level, inside me, as an experience, as an anchored, grounded, embodied reality. And so in these first three we look at cultivating whatever it is we want. In the video we use the example of peace, and we'll continue with that. So if I'm wanting to create peace in my life, I learn to breathe peace, and I welcome it in from source. I breathe in peace, I move as peace, and I learn to let the river of feeling, that is peace, move through me. And as the three of them get welcomed in and get patterned into my physiology, I start to anchor peace as an embodied reality. And now we look at the next triangle of thought, word and action, which is the masculine aspect of creation and how peace starts to shape our external, our outer reality. So thought is a juicy one. Yes, so often we're trying not to think our thoughts, we're hiding our thoughts, we're trying to transcend our thoughts. There's a whole lot of our life is around our thoughts. And very simply, this work is being able to move our thoughts from a known rigid structure to the luminous freedom that is true thought. Yeah, so our mind has this sort of evolution that it's going through from a tightly held known reality of a bunch of fixed rigid set of beliefs about the way life is, the way I am, the way you are, the way reality is. And that's the shell, that's the hard mind, the immature mind. But we're not here to just transcend the mind and it doesn't exist. The truth is, from where I sit, is that the mind evolves and the mind becomes a luminous, free, vibrationary spirit that lives in us, and that we access through that mind the divine intelligence, the divine wisdom of who we are, and in many ways the masculine principle of possibility of who we could be, what we could do, what we could create. And so the first sort of piece in this work is very simply, this is not about choosing your thoughts. This is not about thinking differently, because as we've often found, we try and think differently, but the weight of old thoughts or the rigidity of our beliefs gets in the way. And so, as Byron Katie's taught me so beautifully, we can't let go of thoughts. They're there, they hold us, and if we try and let go of them, we actually strengthen identification with them. So how we work with thought here is that we learn to surrender into the pattern we've already built. So by me breathing and moving and feeling peace, then naturally what starts to arise in me is thoughts of peace. Why is that? Because very simply, thoughts arise from the feminine, from my breath, my movement, my feeling. That is where all thoughts come from. In the same way the sword rises from the lake in the sort of ancient stories, thought is the first beginning of intelligence, of the masculine aspect, the creative potential. And what happens is it rises from there and then gets rigid, and then we just get stuck in it and identify with it. But when we learn to surrender and be the ocean, then thought arises as a pure gift from the feminine aspect that we've worked with in the first triangle. So here we learn to surrender rigid holding thought and simply allow thought to occur through us. And we learn to listen to its truth that's beyond ourselves. It's like moving from working with our own personal library to working with the internet, or the collective internet of every being that's ever been. So that's thought. So then word. Now word is often a very wasted resource. It's the creative power we're given as human beings to direct, to shape our lives, to set an intention and watch it unfold and create reality. But all too often we simply use our words to describe reality. I'm tired, I don't like that, I do like that, that's a tree, you're my partner, whatever it is. We simply use our word to describe what we think is, rather than realize that our word creates what is. And so from this liberated thought comes this chance to speak peace, to speak the words of peace as a divine creative act. And in the creative mastery process, a lot of work is done with cleaning up our word so that it can be spoken truly, freely, from this whole body perspective. Because what happens is all too often our word is actually out of alignment, out of integrity with our breath, our movement, our feeling. So I'm saying, oh, I want to create this business, but my feeling body is saying I want to rest. And so they clash. So learning to work with our feminine breath, movement and feeling, and then surrender our thought, allows our word to really arise from deep connection to ourselves and deep power. And then we can follow it and watch it create. Which leads us to action. Now, often in sort of spiritual work, we find there's sort of a passive spirituality, and I've lived trapped inside it for so long that I'm fierce about challenging a spirituality that doesn't have us really question our moment-by-moment actions. Yes, there's sort of a belief if I just meditate and send out radiant golden love, that will contribute to humanity. And while I believe in the inner power, I also believe that if that doesn't naturally flow into action, then we're not in full alignment. Yeah, we're not giving our whole being to the source, to the love that matters. We're maybe letting ourselves feel it, but not letting ourselves be taken over and be vulnerable to action. Because obviously there's incredible vulnerability in taking action, in actually speaking up for or sharing who we are and what matters. We risk all sorts of sort of deconstructions of who we think we are by the response we get, by people liking us or not liking us and all that sort of stuff. So thought, word and action form this creative power, and without the feminine aspect they can be control. And so for me, thought, word and action learn to surrender and listen to the deeper being, and then move with power and clarity and express what matters most. So that brings me to the end of this video series. I really hope you've got something from it. I hope this sort of integrated model really helps bring together who you are and awakens your creative power. That's what I do, that's what I'm about. Obviously there's a whole lot more resources on the website and Facebook page if you want to keep exploring this work around living and creating from the heart. Hope you're having a great day, and it's an honour to have this little bit of time with you. Thanks.